Can we talk about how stupid this guy is? I mean, Donald Trump is an idiot. this this illegal war, and it is 100% illegal, against Iran, is almost certainly going to be an absolute disaster for him. I see no political upside for him really at all. It's just a question of how damaging to him this is. I mean, if this war turns into a disaster for the United States, and there are so many ways this thing could go sideways. And let's be honest, nobody knows how this is going to turn out. I have no idea. And anyone who tells you that they do know is lying. And if they turn out to be right, they just got lucky. Nobody knows. But there are so many ways that this could turn into a disaster. And if it does, Trump is fucked. I mean, good luck in the midterms. These guys were already likely to get crushed in the midterms. The House, gone. The only real question is, does the Senate flip to Democrats? If this war goes badly, this could be the thing that seals the fate of the Senate and flips it over to Democratic control. I mean, this is just fucking stupid on steroids. So if it goes badly, it's a disaster for Trump. And this may be the thing that gets him impeached and removed from office, depending on how this goes. But if it's successful, and I don't even know what that would look like, if it's truly successful, if there truly is a regime change, and you're almost certainly not going to effectuate a regime change by launching missiles or dropping bombs, you're going to have to put American troops on the ground to accomplish this. And even then, I mean, it's still likely to be a disaster. You put American troops on the ground, you're going to start filling up body bags. Now, the best case scenario is if there is a popular uprising of the people and they overthrow this regime, but that's not very likely. The Iranian people are not armed. All right, so how exactly are they going to do that? It's just not likely to happen. But if it were somehow successful, like honestly successful, not Trump later on today just declares victory and pulls out, which he could. I mean, he does this shit all the time. He declares victory even though there is no actual success. He just declares victory. Oh, we killed enough people. We obliterated again their nuclear program. So this is a tremendous victory. So whether it's a phony declaration of victory or an actual success of some kind, toppling this regime, if it's successful, what does that get him? The truth is, most Americans don't give a shit about Iran. They don't. So even if you're successful, nobody fucking cares. That's the truth. Nobody cares. So if it is a disaster, then Trump is fucked. And if it's a success, nobody gives a shit anyway. And all he would have done is damaged his standing with his own base. And believe me, that is happening. It already has been happening for a number of months now. He is slowly but surely losing support of his own base, which is why his poll numbers are in the low 30s now. His own people are turning on him over any number of issues where they have felt betrayed. Now, most of them, let's be honest, most Trump supporters don't give a shit at all. They can't be betrayed because they don't actually believe in anything. So it doesn't matter if he comes, if he has his ICE thugs shoot people dead in the street, and the reason is because they had they were legally carrying a firearm with a legal permit. And that's the justification now that Trump says, yeah, well, you don't really have a right to keep and bear arms. And if we see you with a gun, my masked thugs are going to shoot you dead in the street, right? Most Trump supporters don't care about that because it turns out they never really cared about the Second Amendment. And on and on and on. They don't care about the debt, which is exploding. They all pretend to be fiscal conservatives. They don't really care. They all said no new wars. We have to vote for Trump so that there's no new wars. Turns out most of them don't really give a shit about that. So most of them, don't care. But there are a significant percentage that do. And remember, MAGA is on a minority coalition. They're nowhere near a majority coalition. If they were, his approval ratings wouldn't be in the low 30s and going into the 20s. And he's in the low 20s among a lot of important groups. So you don't get there if MAGA is anywhere near a majority coalition. It never has been, and it's not now, and it is bleeding support. And he can't afford to lose any support. All right? He needs every bit of the support he can get to keep his ass in office. So this could be a potential disaster for him politically with no real upside. And I'm going to give you an example here in a little bit of what MAGA is saying. I mean, a lot of these MAGAs, or at least they're saying that this is it for them. Of course, we've heard that before. But the longer this goes, the more likely this is to be the break between Trump and a lot of his base. If he just declares some bullshit victory later on today, the damage with his standing with his base will be minimal. The longer this goes on, the more of a political disaster it is. The more likely Republicans are going to lose the Senate. The more likely it is that Donald Trump not only gets impeached, but convicted in the Senate and removed from office and then fucking prosecuted for his many crimes. So this is so unbelievably stupid. This is a man who's so desperate to cling to power that he's trying everything he can to rig the midterm elections, and he's probably going to use this war as a justification to try to cancel elections. Not going to work. He has this executive order that's being talked about that he's going to sign to try to impose all these requirements for voting. That's not going to work. That's not going to go anywhere. The point is, he's desperate. He's scared to death. And this only makes all of that worse. Much more likely that he loses control of Congress. Much more likely that he gets impeached and removed from office. Which leads you to think, then why the hell is he doing this? The only thing that makes any sense is Epstein. Whatever's in there, whatever he's trying to cover up must be really, really bad. And what's important to keep in mind is that there's no will for this war in the United States. Nobody wanted this war. All the polls show nobody wanted this war. And Trump did absolutely nothing to lay the groundwork for this war, to convince the American people that this war was worth fighting. And it's being reported that Trump had already decided that he was going to start this war before he gave that State of the Union address. That was the perfect time to talk to the American people and to Congress about the need for this. It still would have been illegal if he just then went and did it. But he had Congress there. He could have made the case and asked them for authorization to go to war with Iran. He did none of that. And so this is not a war that the American people even understand, let alone support. And they don't even understand it. Trump's own administration doesn't understand it. Trump doesn't understand it. Trump is not going to war for any coherent reasons other than to distract the country from what it is that he did to children with his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein. That's why there has been no coherent explanation for this war. They're all over the place. It's regime change. It's stopping their nuclear weapons. It's whatever the hell. Oh, it's, protecting protesters. It's whatever. They don't really give a shit what the reason is. They just got to do it because of what Trump did to children, and we got to cover up those fucking files. That's why we did it. Or because Netanyahu told me to, and Netanyahu has the goods on me. They have those videos of me with children and what I did to those kids. And I don't want that to come out, so now I got to do Netanyahu's bidding. And as to Israel, they need to get as much out of Trump now while Trump is in office as possible, because as soon as Trump is gone, their free ride is over. their ability to control the United States and get them to fight whatever wars or conduct whatever military operations on behalf of Israel that they want, that ability is gone. Right? The next president is not going to be doing Netanyahu's bidding. So they have to squeeze everything out of Trump now while they can. So one way or another, this is about Epstein. And this is about Israel controlling Trump because they probably have the goods on Epstein and Trump and what he did to kids. But back to my point about there being no popular will in this country for this. That's why the longer this goes, the more of a disaster it is. And there's already reporting that Trump is looking for a way out. Already. We're one day into this, and it's already being reported that Trump is looking to taco his way out of this. And part of the reason is because we have a limited number of interceptors to intercept these Iranian missile barrages. Now, we've been pretty successful in doing so, but from what I understand, they have a hell of a lot more missiles stockpiled than we have interceptors ready to intercept those missiles and defend ourselves and Israel against Iranian missile attacks. And so now Trump may be looking to taco his way out of this. And you know, another thing to keep in mind is that Trump is nothing more than a bully. And he likes to launch missiles. He likes to have these precision special operations like in Venezuela. And that wasn't any kind of war. We just went in there, killed some people, kidnapped Maduro, and that's it. In and out. Same thing with the first Iran attack. We launched some missiles. That's it. Right? There was no war. There was no fighting back. If Iran fights back, and they have been a little bit, there's reporting now that Iran is threatening a greater retaliation in the coming days, but we'll see. But if Iran continues to fight back, Trump is going to fold. That's what happened. That's what happens when you punch a bully in the nose. They back down. And I guarantee you that will be the case if Iran fights back in any sort of a sustained way. And now, you know, the FBI has issued terror alerts all around the world, including here in the United States. We've been told for years that Iranian proxy groups have sleeper cells in the United States, and that those cells may now be activated. We may see terrorist attacks here in the United States. And everyone will know, if anything happens, that it was because Donald Trump attacked Iran for no good reason, an attack that nobody wanted and very few people supported. So this, and that's just, you know, terrorist attacks. There's so many ways that this can go sideways for Trump. It's a disaster. It's so fucking stupid. And here's something too that's important. You know, their justifications for this are all over the place, as we talked about. One of the things they're now saying is that this was a defensive strike, that they have intelligence that indicates Iran was planning to attack us. Does anyone believe that? No. That nobody believes that, but that's what they're putting out there, that Iran was planning to strike first. They were planning to attack the United States, and so Trump had to react defensively. Well, clearly this is bullshit. Why are they saying this? Well, they're saying it to make this legal. We've talked about many times when he was illegally invading Venezuela, we talked about this. There's only two circumstances under which a president can take military action like this. One is if it's authorized by Congress. Clearly it wasn't. So the only other way that this is legal is if Trump was acting in defense of the country against a threat that was imminent and so serious that military force was required to be used. That's it. That's it. And that the threat was so serious and so imminent that there was no time to go to Congress and get authorization. He had no choice but to respond immediately. That's it. That's the only other way that it's legal outside of an authorization from Congress. So that's why they're lying now about Iran planning to attack the United States. This is just trying to create a legal justification after the fact because they know this is illegal. And they know there are people in Congress pissed off about this. Not that, there's enough of them to do anything about it right now. But if he keeps doing shit like this, not only will there be enough votes to impeach him in the House, but maybe to remove him by conviction in the Senate. Damn those Epstein files must be bad. Now, I want to make another point about the damage that this piece of shit is doing to this country with this illegal war. I was reading a post from a woman who's the director of Middle East programs at Defense Priorities, and she wrote this in part: the damage to U.S. prestige and credibility from attacking Iran amidst ongoing negotiations again is incalculable. Last time, planned U.S.-Iran negotiations were called off by Israel's surprise attack. Remember, this was in the summer when we bombed Iran and said that we had obliterated, and Trump said we obliterated their nuclear program. We were in the middle of negotiations with Iran when Israel struck, and then Trump pretended that he didn't know anything about it. This time, the seats in Geneva were barely cold before Trump ordered a full-blown regime change war, despite major Iran concessions and gathering momentum towards peace. Who will ever trust Trump or the United States to negotiate in good faith again? This is a really good point. Who will ever trust the United States if we say we want to engage in negotiations to avoid war or for whatever purpose? Who can ever trust, certainly Trump, but the United States, that we are negotiating in good faith? Last time we were trying to negotiate with Iran, we had Israel do a sneak attack, and then we pretended, we didn't know anything about it. This time, it was clear Trump was not negotiating in good faith. We had reports that Iran had conceded a lot to try to get a deal here. Trump had no intention of accepting a deal. Stalling for time, misdirection, whatever the hell it was, but it wasn't good faith negotiations. As soon as they were done, we attacked. No one's ever going to believe us again. No one's going to take us at our word. No one's going to believe that we're negotiating in good faith about anything. And that's going to do long-term damage to this country. Now, finally, I want to give you an example of the kind of thing that these MAGAs are saying, because this really is causing a big rift between the Orange God King and his supporters. Here's just one tweet from a guy who is hardcore America First. His bio, this is on Twitter. And he's a big account, over 150,000 followers. So this is not just some stupid bot account. His bio is he's an America First patriot. First Amendment, Second Amendment, anti-communist, and freedom. And he has a quote: "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." That's one of the quotes that these Second Amendment guys really, really love. And he wrote, so this guy's a Trumper, right? He voted for Trump 3 times, guaranteed. And he wrote, "The American dream is dead for people like me under the age of 45, but I'm supposed to cheer for the bombing of Iran because that's what Israel wants, while Trump works on his golden ballroom and tells you how amazing he is? Fuck all these tyrants. You're not getting my vote." And this is a sentiment shared by a lot of these MAGAs. I am seeing it all over the place. Many of them are pissed. And remember, this is not a majority coalition. MAGA is a minority movement. Trump can't afford for these people to stop supporting him. Trump can't afford for these people to sit out the election. He just can't. And more and more of them are saying exactly this. Don't vote. This is not what I voted for. A lot of big name people with big followings are encouraging their MAGA followers, or at least, I guess, former MAGA followers, not to vote at all. I don't know how the hell Donald Trump thinks that this illegal war is going to help him. It is not going to help him in any way. Now, I read one article today about how this is about legacy. Trump wants to topple this regime in Venezuela. Of course, he didn't really topple the regime in Venezuela. He replaced, he got rid of Maduro. Maduro's people are still running that place. That was about stealing the oil and selling it and taking the proceeds and putting it in a bank account that only he controls, that's located in Qatar. But they're saying that Iran might be about his legacy because nobody else has been able to topple the Iranian regime. Trump's going to be the one to do it. And nobody else has been able to, topple the regime in Cuba. But Trump is going to do it. Cuba's next. And where are we going to go from there? Who knows? But this is all about Trump building his legacy. That's why he's focused on his ballroom and all this other shit he's doing. By the way, if that's true, and that may be partly true, I'm not discounting that as a possibility. But if that's true, what does that tell you about Trump's intentions to run for a third term? That bullshit. He's not running for a third term. That was never real. He's not running for a third term. If he thought he was never going to leave, he wouldn't be so worried about trying to build a legacy right now. Anyway, that's my take on that. But I think to what extent legacy building might be a motivation for this, I think it is much more having to do with Epstein. Because politically, even if you're trying to build your legacy, what do you think is better for your legacy? Not being impeached and removed from office? Or, trying to topple the Iranian regime and creating another clusterfuck in the Middle East? What do you think is going to be better for your legacy? Because doing what he's doing in Iran makes it much more likely that his dumbass is going to be impeached yet again, and maybe many, many times. And I'm of the opinion that Trump should be impeached as many times as it takes to actually remove him from office. So don't put all the there are so many impeachable offenses and crimes that he has committed. Don't put them all into one impeachment proceeding. Take one, impeach his ass, send it for a trial in the Senate. If that fails, then impeach him again, send it for a trial in the Senate. And on and on and on, just nothing but impeachments and Senate impeachment trials until we finally remove this piece of shit from office. Anyway, this Iran disaster that is unfolding makes it much more likely that he is going to be impeached and maybe even removed from office. He's certainly going to be responsible for his party losing control of Congress. How are these things beneficial to his legacy? Not at all. So to me, this is not about legacy building. This is about Epstein. Because to do all this to yourself politically, taking this risk, why the fuck would you do? I know he's a fucking idiot, but is he really that stupid? Hard to believe anyone is that stupid. Maybe he is. Maybe the dementia really is kicking in and this guy has just fucking lost it. But he has usually had a fairly good sense of his own political preservation. This doesn't make any sense at all. Unless you accept that it's about Epstein. Then it makes sense. But only if whatever it is that he's trying to cover up is really, really bad. And I think it is. I think it's every bit as bad as that. I've told you from the beginning. I think that Trump thinks that whatever he did is so bad that if it came out, it would destroy him and probably end him up in prison for the rest of his life. That's what I believe. I mean, just from the files that have been released, to say nothing about those that haven't been released. What we've already seen in the files is that there are credible allegations that Trump raped children and threatened to kill children. That's from the files that have been released. Imagine what's being covered up. If you consider that, and this Iran disaster makes sense. Doesn't make sense any other way. But with Epstein, yeah. This is a war for the Epstein file. This is an Epstein cover-up war. That's what this is. And it's going to end very, very badly for him. I believe we're in the final days of, maybe not final days, but we're nearing the end of Trump. And it's going to be a disastrous end for Trump. At least I think so, and I sure as hell hope so, because that's what he deserves. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.